Welcome back to another episode of the HigherUp podcast. I'm your host, Michael Smoke, and today we're joined by a very special guest. He is a mentor, coach, and friend to many, and he has accomplished what I believe to be one of the most incredible feats of human endurance possible that only a few hundred people in the history of mankind have ever been fortunate, driven, and dedicated enough to complete, and that is the U.S. Transcontinental Run. Before we get into the conversation with Kallup, I am so excited to say that we've officially landed our first podcast sponsor. And before I even say who it is, I want to thank you guys for listening to the show and making it a podcast worthy of sponsorship. This means a lot to me. Filling the first ever sponsorship gap was a big decision, and I'm excited to say that the guys I'm wearing right here on my head and right here on my eyes are the brand sponsoring the show. So this podcast is now brought to you by Dream Recovery. They have incredible products for you to get the most out of your sleep. And I've been using the products for well over a year now, like the blue light blocking glasses, the hat, which is just an added bonus and looks good with an outfit. But two of my favorites are their performance sleep mask, and most importantly, the thing you hear me talk about all the time, mouth tape. I started taping my mouth shut when I was going to sleep at night, and I have noticed a huge difference in my recovery on both my whoop and just in what I feel in my day-to-day life. They also sell performance nasal strips for exercise and sleep, which unfortunately I'm currently out of because I used all of them. So if you want to save some money at checkout, at the Dream Recovery website, you can use code HU to save 15% on your first order. That's dreamrecovery.com, code HU. There will also be a link in the description so you can go check it out and get more out of your sleep. Mr. Kallup McCoy, thank you for coming all the way down here, man.
Dude, I appreciate the opportunity. I know this has been a long time coming. We've been talking about having this conversation for weeks, and here we are. This is the first conversation I've got to have, in podcast form since I finished the run. So I'm excited for it, brother.
Yeah, man. I know there was probably a big decompression period that you had to endure, both in that post-race come down that people talk about, right? You have that big achievement and the mental effects that come with that I want to talk about with you. But I'm glad we got to do this. And I don't say this lightly. I think that this could be one of the most important conversations that I have on this show. And it's a testament to the power and grace of God, of grit, of trust in yourself when it comes to your story. And I think that it's going to touch and inspire a lot of people that have a lot of reasons and circumstances that they believe keep them from where they want to be or where they feel they should be. And you are the epitome of defying an incredible amount of adversity. And you're the comeback kid, man. You've made an incredible life for yourself, and I'm inspired by you and honored to know you and honored to ask you some questions today, man.
I appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully, God will use this conversation to encourage some people, inspire some people out there.
Yeah, man. If just one person gets something out of it, it's worth it for me. I don't know about you, but worth it for me. So, 66 days, 2,870 miles. What the hell were you thinking? Why did you choose to do this?
I think a lot of times we get so caught up in our daily lives, jobs, kids, whatever we have going on, that we forget to make time for adventure. And that's something that's been a huge part of my life since, coming out of jail, getting into recovery, which I'm sure we'll back up and get into in a few minutes. But honestly, man, it was about the adventure. It was about just using my platform, using the abilities that God's given me to inspire people and to raise money for my nonprofit. And so back in 2018, I ran the Trail of Tears from Cherokee, North Carolina to Tahlequah, Oklahoma. And there was always a seed planted from that moment forward that I was like, man, I want to do something bigger, because I've seen how God moved throughout that journey, and I wanted to experience something on a bigger level. And that's, it was always in the back of my mind. So, that kind of sat there for years and years. And then finally it was like, it's time to pull the trigger. We're not promised tomorrow. And I was like, we're going to take a chance and go ahead and try to do this Transcon.
It's incredible. I think the funniest side effect I've noticed about your Transcon run is when you've come up in conversations, because obviously I got to brag about my boy that ran across the freaking country. It's an insane achievement. And it's such an audacious thing to say out loud that when I tell somebody I meet or a friend about my friend Kallup McCoy and I say, yeah, he ran across the country, it doesn't register.
No,
because it doesn't sound possible. Like, what, aren't there rivers and bodies of water? What do you mean he ran? And so when I say my friend ran across the US, it's always like and I'm like, no, on foot.
Yeah.
Every day for 2 months, he ran from coast to coast. So when it came to planning for something that big, was it logistically challenging?
Dude, it was a logistical nightmare. There were so many moving parts because, we couldn't rely on people to take a step back from their lives for 2 2+ months. So we had to, it's a patchwork of crew members coming in and out, different airports, driving out to get them hours at a time, driving back. I mean, it's just, trying to figure out the route, trying to figure out who's going to be coming in at what times. It was really tough. And I had to focus on the day-to-day task of just getting up every day and trying to run close to 50 miles as I could. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it took a lot of game planning on the front end.
We had a motley crew out there when I visited you for the last leg.
We had a motley crew, man.
I can't imagine all the people that passed through that you got to meet. You said you built some new friendships out of it. The route itself, you chose San Francisco to North Carolina, right?
San Diego. To Wilmington, North Carolina.
And there's a couple different Transcons. There's a classic LA to New York.
Yeah.
This is the southernmost Transcon route you can take, right?
It is, yeah.
So why did you land on this route?
Well, I wanted it to be unique. I wanted it to be, something that people haven't done before in the past. And I was looking at San Francisco at first, and that's what I announced when I was going to do it. But I hired Griffin Wooden to be my crew chief, and he and I were just game planning on the front end, trying to figure out which route we were going to take. And he shot me the elevation chart of San Francisco to Wilmington, and it was a ton of elevation. I think it was like 30-something% more than the San Diego route.
Okay.
So he's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And plus, it's like 3,200 miles. And I was like, "I don't know. I guess let's take the route with less elevation. It's going to be hard enough. Why make it any harder, right?" And honestly, it took some talking into to make me do that. But eventually, we landed on San Diego to Wilmington, and I just wanted to be close to the Mexican border starting out. I mean, like it was unique. I wanted to run through the desert. So yeah, that's the route we ended up choosing.
What was the most beautiful part of the country that you ran through?
So I've got a few different parts that I really enjoyed. I love going through Southern California. I love going through Arizona and New Mexico. Those western states were my favorite. Just because it's desolate. There wasn't a whole lot going on out there. You're out there alone. You didn't see a lot of people. You didn't see towns for, days at a time sometimes. And I really enjoyed that, just kind of connecting with God's creation, connected with my crew, and not a lot of traffic too. I mean, like the traffic, man, became such a barrier, man, to going out and executing on the day-to-day, just being overstimulated. You're constantly like jerking and worrying about like getting hit by a car. And so being out west, I didn't have a whole lot of that happening. So I really enjoyed that.
Did you have to, I think at one point you were telling me when you and Ryan were somewhere in the Midwest
New Mexico,
that you did almost get clipped. Was that on a busy road? I mean, were there times when I think you said, like, I was on a tight shoulder and cars are just zoom, 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 like every few seconds? Were there multiple points like where you're running through high traffic roads?
Yeah. So that actually, that happened in New Mexico.
Shout out Ryan Snowden, by the way.
Yes. That's my boy, man.
He's been a soldier. He was a soldier on that trip for you.
He literally showed up in the van, Jordan Utley, one of our friends. They all came to New Mexico, flew into Albuquerque, came out and met me. And I'd never met Ryan before in person, like just on social media. We knew one another. So he jumps out of the van. I'm like, "You ready to rip?" And he was like, "Let's go." And he ran 20 miles with me, like literally stepped out of the van and took off running down the road with me. So I appreciate Ryan being out there with me and everything, and Jordan. But anyways, we're running one day and it's a long straightaway. And I remember it's like midday. And I hear a truck coming, and we're running into traffic, right? So I can see everything coming at me. And this truck goes whizzing by, and the mirror literally grazes my shoulder. And it got to the point where I had to sit down, and Ryan made a post about this. I sat down on the guardrail, and I was just jarred, man. I started questioning, like, is this even worth it? Like, who gives a damn? If I finish this thing, who really even cares? Is this worth risking my life? And I sat there on that guardrail for about an hour, man. I was just shook up. I was shaking and everything. And when that happened, I remember shoving Ryan out of the road because I thought we were hit. I thought we were done for. So we sat there for a while, and I finally come to the conclusion that, if nothing else, this was for me and for the organization, the guys that we serve back home in Cherokee. And that was worth it to me. Like, if I died doing what I love, out there running, and just the simplicity of it, it's been so healing for me in my own journey. then, it'd be worth it for me. And so we got up, we kept moving. But from that point on, man, I was just, I was constantly just frazzled anytime traffic started picking up.
Yeah, I remember it had to be somewhere in day 20 something. Because when did you start?
March 22nd.
March 22nd. I called you when I was out in Denver with Eric Hinman.
Yeah.
And we had me, you, Gabriel, we had that FaceTime prayer. And you were in a bad spot. Like, you were really hurting. I remember you saying, like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And that was literally 1/3 of the way through. That was let's just call it day 25. You were out there for 66 days. And you pressed through, which is an insane test of grit, because I remember thinking logically, he's already run somewhere close to 1,000 miles at this point, 40 miles a day for 20 days. So 800 miles just for easy math. Yeah, you should be bang the fuck up.
Yeah.
So how did you keep going? I don't even know how else to ask the question. I'm just going to ask it. How did you keep going, and how many times did you hit that point of, I don't think I can do this anymore?
So one of the toughest days, I'll back up for just a second. One of the toughest days of the entire journey was day 3. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm dead ass. We're sitting, day 1 and 2, it was all hype. Dopamine, the excitement's there. Everybody, is just building that camaraderie within the crew, the newness of it all, right? And day 3 hits, and I ran a marathon first half of the day. It was super hot, Southern California, so we took a break midday. I got to the RV and I laid down in the back in the bed, and the AC stopped working. So we're scrambling, we're trying to figure out the AC. It's 110 degrees, sweating, and I look around, and I'm in this RV, Caitlin and a bunch of people that we really don't know. They're friends, but we've never spent time with them. And so my mind starts, God, I'm hot, I'm beat up, I can barely move right now. My pace is slowing down. This is already getting old. And I open up my phone and I look at Google Maps and I see a little blue dot in Southern California. And I look over and I see how far I got to go. I flipped out, dude. I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital. Like, I was having a full-on panic attack.
Really?
And I told Caitlin, I was like, I don't know how in the hell I'm going to do this. I called my coach, Mary Beth Cates, shout out coach. And, I talked to her for like an hour and a half, and she's like, dude, you're in it. You're already in it. You've put it out there. You've burned the boats. You've paid for everything. Like, stop thinking about the entirety of this journey. Right. She's like, all you got to focus on is the next 10 minutes. Don't worry about running 50 miles a day. Just focus on the next 10 minutes. You can do anything for 10 minutes. And that's the conversation that we had. And I needed that. I needed to break it down in those digestible bites, whether it's in business or whatever it is that we're doing. Like, we can look at the whole staircase, right, and get overwhelmed. And it was all about left foot, right foot. It's all about just telling myself every single day, because my mind is trying to conceptualize this, doing this task. And I was just trying to tell myself, like, just focus on the next 10 minutes. So day 3 was a huge turning point for me, because I was looking at how many miles I needed to run every single day. And I had to take a step back, man, because if I would have stayed in that mindset, I would have flipped myself out and I would have quit. Fast forward to whenever I was chatting with you. At that point in time, it was just exhaustion. It was trying to get in enough calories. By that point in time, about that halfway mark, it was so hard to get calories down. Nothing was tasting good. For the first half of the trip, we were eating a lot of whole foods, and it just became like survival mode. How can we get calories down? Whatever that looks like. Fast food, cookies, whatever we could get in. And nothing, it was so hard to eat. It was so hard to force myself to eat. And it was, that was becoming the challenge at that point in time, was the exhaustion, because I wasn't getting enough calories in. And I was just thinking to myself, like, I would finish the day so broken, hurting so bad. Just think about like doing your first ultra marathon or doing your first marathon. That feeling is what I felt every single day at the end of the day. And I was just so broken. I was there having to help me up. They were helping me in and out of the RV. Constantly like just doing like body work, muscle scraping. You were doing compression boots, like all the things, and I would just go to bed every single day. Like, how in the hell am I going to get up and do this again tomorrow? That was a question I had. And that's kind of where I was at that point in time.
Yeah. And you got 45 more days out of it.
Yeah.
It's there's so much in there of that 10-minute mentality. It sounds like you took into every day for the rest of the run.
It was.
I can just do 10 more minutes. I can just do 10 more minutes. I remember my first ultra marathon was just a 50K, but I was not ready for it. And I remember just saying out loud, can I take one more step? Can I take one more step? And I think that's the way that anybody should tackle any task in their life that they feel is insurmountable. It's kind of why I hate endurance running. Certainly at the level you did it is almost unfathomable to me, but it's such a good microcosm for life that when you have this thing that seems so far away or so unattainable, if you can just take one more step, you're going to get closer. And you embodied that throughout the course of this run. I think another thing I want you to unpack is the human spirit component to this is huge. And what I mean by that is when I came and ran the North Carolina leg with you, that's where we were.
Yes,
right?
day 64.
Day 64, somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Bumfuck.
It's beautiful out there.
Beautiful.
It's Lumberton area.
Yeah. Bumfuck, North Carolina, as some would say. It was really crazy. I remember being like blown away at how high your spirits were and how fast we were running. Because at that point you were 3 days from being done.
Yeah.
And it's an insane testament to what is mentally possible. So just talk about the impact that different people passing through had on your energy levels and your performance and what that felt like.
That's a great question, man, because, that first crew that was out there with me, we grew really close together. They were all out there for 2 weeks, pretty much. And this is my family. They're taking care of me. They're putting their lives on hold. They're putting their lives on the line, being out there running with me. Just cleaning up my shit. Stopped up the bathroom in the RV. I go out the door and I start running. Little did I know, I wasn't supposed to flush dude wipes.
Oh, you ruined everything.
The toilet backs up and there's shit they're driving down the road and shit's coming down the hallway of the RV. And they're scrambling around trying to clean this up and everything. So we trauma bonded.
Yeah, it doesn't get closer. It doesn't get closer than cleaning up your shit for you.
Shared adversity out there. And, we were growing close together. And through that, like I was dependent on them. They became my safe space. And whenever they would leave, like I would have this depression set in because then we'd have to build more camaraderie with the new crew, which would take some time. And eventually I got better at it. But for the first month, man, with crew coming in and out, like I would get in this really depressive state of mind just because I was leaning on these people so much and we grew close together. And I hated to see them go. Because that was my safe space. That was my comfort zone. I didn't have a lot of comfort out there. So anytime that would happen, that would put me in a bad headspace. What was the other question that you had?
I just wanted to know what that experience was like. It sounds like a lot of up and down emotionally in regards to, it's like you build a relationship and then the relationship ends. And then you got to build new relationships. The
newness of new crew coming in was exciting. I was I had to embrace that. And one of the things that my coach and I were talked about too in that call and leading up to the run was in recovery, we talk about practicing radical acceptance. There's so much out of our control, right? But I just had to practice radical acceptance. Like things were not going to go my way. And I'd get up every day and I would, like Chris Shanks, he came out for Oklahoma and stayed out for like a week. And we actually put out an Instagram story saying we need crew. We had 2 people at one time and we needed more crew because we had the RV, we had the chase vehicle. So I didn't have anybody out there running with me. So we put it out. Chris Shanks answered the call, flies out. And he and I just got to this mindset where we're like, no expectations. Don't that's going to drive disappointment. Let's just get up and we'll just take it mile by mile. And it's just riding the waves with such as life, right? I'd hit these high moments throughout the day, running well, and then hit these lows, feeling like shit. Feeling like I couldn't take another step. So that was one thing that I had to get really good at. Like just no expectations, take things as they come and practice radical acceptance. It's out of my control. So what can I do about it in the moment, right? So that was some things I got really good at.
How is that? Has that changed the way you live your life, learning those lessons through that extreme physical adversity? Do you feel like you've adopted any of that into your actual life now?
Yeah, it's definitely ingrained in my life now, man. It's, looking at things, looking at challenges as opportunities, looking at obstacles as opportunities. Like, I know how to work through things now. It's all problem solving. That's all life is. Like, whatever it is that we're going through, like, how can I not allow my emotions to dictate things and not let my emotions control me? I got really good at that. Trying to stay even keel, like trying to figure out working through problem solving, working through things, relying on people, reaching out to people. It's just helped me in everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah. What's if anything, I've been curious about this for a while. Is there anything that happened or that you took from it that really surprised you? Something that you did not expect? Maybe it was an experience, maybe just something that happened on a leg of the trip, or just a lesson that you learned that you didn't expect to get out of something like this?
Honestly, there were a few times, man, I was in my day 3 happened, right? And we get back out there on the road the second half of the day after I have that call with my coach. And it really just fortified my faith, how God was ordering my steps and God was with me out there during that journey. I'm talking to Bryson, one of my crew members. We're coming down the road and I'm crying, man. I'm like, I have this freak out moment, realize I've got 2,700 miles to go, broken already. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And I'm telling him, I'm like, dude, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this. Like, I literally do not think I'm going to be able to finish this. Just a lot of doubt.
Oh, that's not good. Sorry about the interruption. The apartment decided to take on mid-afternoon renovations with the biggest possible hammer I think that you could purchase. And it was a little bit noisy. You might have heard that for just a few seconds, but we're locked back in. And we were talking about the thing you learned that surprised you the most throughout the journey that you didn't expect to take away. And you were talking about proceed.
Yeah. And we practiced radical acceptance just then.
Yes, we did practice, right? Yes. Yeah, he decided to throw the 12 steps on me to calm me down a little bit. It worked. I'll admit it worked.
No, I was just talking about like just how God showed up and really fortified my faith in moments where I was really doubting and uncertain. So that day three happens. Second half of the day, it's dusky dark, and somebody had shared on social media that I was coming through one of the reservations in Southern California. She sent the story to her sister. Her sister was at the gym with her husband. And she tells her husband, like, hey, this native guy is running through Southern California. He's coming through a reservation right now. We got to go. And here I am coming down the road, just really like beating myself up, really doubting myself, telling Bryce, I don't know if I'm going to be able to complete this journey. And I had my head down and I'm moving forward, but I'm really emotional, moved to tears. And I just hear this war call on the side of the road. Right in this moment, man, where I need it the most. And I look up and it's this couple standing over there, a native couple. And they came out to run with me, support me. The man, he's in recovery. He came out and they ended up running, I think he ran 15 miles with me that night. We got to the end of the night and there's actually a video. I'll have to go reshare it, but it just kind of captures that whole day. The ups and downs of that entire day. And I ended up laying on a picnic table at 3 a.m. that morning when I finished. The van got stuck. They helped us get out. Like, it was just a godsend that they were there that day. So that just really showed me that God was going to take care of us out there on the road. And I needed to not try to figure everything out and just trust and have faith. And that, that's what faith is, right? You don't know what's coming up. You just going to know that God's going to take care of you. And a couple other things that I learned out there was just finding joy in the suffering. And one of the things I talk to my crew about on a pretty much daily basis is like, if I start acting like an asshole, like, let me know, because I'm out here. We have a mission that we're trying to complete. We have this goal that we're trying to complete here: the mileage, raising money, raising awareness for the nonprofit. But also, I want you guys to have a good time. I want you guys to make memories and look back on this and have joy and happiness that you were a part of it. So I tell them all the time, like, if I'm being an asshole, just tell me. So I was always trying to find joy in the suffering and the little moments out there. And no matter what we're going through, blessings and burdens are not mutually exclusive. We can find joy. We can find lessons out of those things. And I learned how to do that really well. Just those small moments, whether it was just, stopping for a meal together, whether it was, coming in and just taking a break halfway through and just checking in on everybody. And that was one of the things that I got really good at, is just, I'd come into the RV and I'd just be asking everybody, how are you doing? Like, how are you guys doing? You guys having fun? Like, what's been happening?
Yeah.
That just helps me gets me out of my own suffering.
It takes the stress off of you.
It does.
It's such a powerful example of what it feels like when you are in suffering to serve other people. It's ironic you bring this up. Like, I made a video this morning about the amount you are able to and willing to serve other people is directly correlated to the joy you will feel. And that is just asking somebody how they're doing is a form of service.
Yeah.
It's also like my favorite piece of scripture that got me through all the stuff with my dad that I know you and I share a parallel experience on in losing our fathers. But James chapter 1, verse 2-4, count it all joy, my brothers, when you face trials of many kinds, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance run its course across the country, so you may be complete and lacking nothing. And there is joy in the suffering, no matter how painful it is, because you are becoming complete. I mean, the amount of experience that you are able to share with people and perspective you are able to share with people through throwing yourself into such a fire like that is why I said earlier, I think this conversation is so important, because you're a walking testament to not only what is possible, because anybody with a solid upbringing and every odd in their favor would have a really hard time running across the country. And for you, I think when people look at somebody like you that has all these achievements and they meet you, see you're sharp, you have your shit together, you got sub 3 hour marathons under your belt, you coach people, you've got your own business, they think, wow, he's just really got his shit together. But as we found at Purpose on Tap last night, the guys that seemed to have it together at one point were falling apart. And can you tell me a little bit about who you were before sub 3 marathons and Transcon? Like what was Kallup McCoy doing a few years back?
Well, I've got 8 years clean off of meth and opioids. Overdosed 6 times. Had to be brought back on 3 different occasions with Narcan.
So you died 3 times.
Yeah. And I grew up in Cherokee, North Carolina. My mom and dad raised my sister and I, and had a lot of love in the house. Growing up on the Kallup boundary. A lot of people call it reservation, but ours is slightly different than a reservation. We own the land there, so it's different than other reservations that the government put tribes on. But anyways, grew up on the Kallup boundary, hunting, fishing, going to the lake, taking trips. But also there was a lot of, as we were talking last night, there was a lot of chaos in my life that was normalized. A lot of alcoholism, lost a lot of family members to cirrhosis, to overdose. I lost my sister in 2019 to overdose. I lost my aunt when I was running across the Trail of Tears in 2018 to endocarditis, from her drug use. And, that's always been the norm in my family. Started using drugs when I was 11 years old. I was getting migraine headaches. They prescribed a narcotic. I quickly became addicted to that from my own childhood trauma, seeing domestic violence growing up, seeing a lot of, alcoholism, just a lot of challenging things that a lot of kids go through. And the drugs helped me to escape, feel comfortable in my own skin, and just gave me a way to, I guess, feel safe, and numb the pain, numb that trauma. Got into sports growing up and played football, basketball, ran track. My senior year in high school, I had the opportunity to go to the next level, to run track or play football. I failed a class my second half of my senior year and got kicked off the track team, got kicked off the basketball team, and I lost those opportunities. And I turned to the only thing that was giving me comfort, was drugs, and took me down this dark path. I've got 2 sons. They're 19 and 20 years old. 2 different women. Because of my addiction, I was not able to be a present father. That's something that I'm still paying for today. It's one of my biggest struggles is my oldest son doesn't talk to me. And, consequences of my actions, I would love to have that relationship restored. I believe God will restore it one day. I just got to keep walking this path. And my youngest son, we've got a good relationship. I talked to him just the other day before I came down here to Atlanta. But again, I was out of their lives. I couldn't hold down a job. I got into MMA. I was telling you this after I was in my early 20s. I had 3 amateur fights. So sports has always been in my life. I love the process. I love training for something. I love pushing myself physically. I love the community, the camaraderie that it brings. And my 3rd amateur fight, I got my arm broken in an MMA fight. They put me on Percocet, and I never went back to the gym. And I just went down this path, even harder. My dad is diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and they gave him 6 months to live. And honestly, that just sent me over the edge, and at that point in time, I was only snorting pills, but that wasn't doing it anymore. I needed something stronger, something to numb the pain, something to numb the uncertainty and this burden I was carrying with my dad going to be passing away. And, this is my best friend, this is my hero, the person I look up to. And I started to shoot up, and I've got these God moments throughout my life where I felt like God was really knocking on my heart, man, and really trying to call me. I remember sitting in that bathroom for the first time before I shot up, and my son is 5 years old at the time. He's living with me. He's knocking on the bathroom door, and I felt like I was staring at the needle. I'm looking at the needle. I've got the peel pulled back. I'm getting ready to shoot up for the first time, and my son's knocking on the door, 5 years old. And he's like, "Dad, what are you doing?" And I laid a towel down at the bottom of the door, and I shot up for the first time. And that amount of shame that I experienced, because I knew the ability that I had to become somebody and to do something great with my life. And it seemed like it was so far gone, and I was never going to be able to come back from this. So I just continued down this path. I thought this was my identity. This is just who I am. I'm a junkie. I'm a drug addict. This is all I'm ever going to be. And that was what I carried for years. My dad fought for 3 years. Like I said, they gave him 6 months to live. He was a fighter. And I think that's where I get my grit and my fight. My mom as well. My mom had a really hard upbringing, but I get that from them. And right before he passed away, he called me to his bedside. And it was just God speaking through this man, Called me to his bedside. He's just a shell of the man that he once was. Probably weighs 120 pounds at the time, just skin and bones. And I'm standing beside his bed, and he's in hospice care, the last few days of his life. And I'm looking at him, and he tells me, he said, "Son, you're going to come out of this one day. You're going to do something great for our family, for our community, and for this world." And I was withdrawing. I hadn't had anything. I had sweat beads rolling down my face, and all I could think about was the next fix. Didn't even resonate with me. When he said those words to me, though, I remember thinking, all I'm ever going to be is a drug addict. I don't even deserve the air that I'm breathing right now. Like, that's how little I thought of myself. A couple of days later, he passes away. I hear his heart rate monitor beeping, and it flatlines. I'm in the bathroom connected to his hospice room. And I got a needle in my arm when my dad leaves this earth. I'm shooting up. And I was so angry, so disappointed in myself. I came out, I kissed my dad on the forehead, and I left that hospital room, and I called my drug dealer. And I said, "I need something. My dad just died." I went straight back to it. This went on for 3 years. And it got so bad, man, I tried to commit suicide by overdose on numerous occasions. I just didn't want to be here anymore. I felt like I didn't have anything to live for. I disappointed my dad. I betrayed my dad. Inflicted a lot of pain and heartache on him and the rest of my family and my mom. My mom never gave up on me, though. My dad always told my mom, "You keep loving him and believing in him, because he's going to do something great. He's going to be somebody." And she never did, man. And I know that's why I'm sitting here today, is because of her love and her prayers all those years and believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. And I get locked up in 2017, March 2017. And I never really grew up in church. You know, we went on holidays every now and again. My dad would always tell me, remember your name, Kallup. Spelled differently, but he'd always, remember your name. That comes from the Bible. You're meant to be a leader. He'd drop these little things on me from time to time. And I'm sitting in jail, and I had started journaling some. I'd been in there for a few weeks. I'm drying out. I'm starting to get clear-headed, starting to think, a little bit differently. And I'm writing down a prayer, and I'm begging God. I'm pleading to God. I said, God, if you're real, show me something. Show me that my dad's still with me somehow. And I think God was using that greatest pain and heartache in that moment to set me free. The shame and the heartache that I felt and the disappointment that I felt was a thing that God was going to use to set me free. And I lay my pen down after writing this letter. I still have the letter at the house. I've got to put up. And I walk upstairs, and a pastor comes walking in. And when he comes in, it stops me in my tracks because it's such a strong resemblance to my dad. He's got mustache trimmed the same way, same eye color, same flannel shirt, same belt. It's tucked in. His watch is on the inside of his wrist. He comes in, he shares the gospel with me. And he told
looks
me,
like your dad.
Huh?
He looks like your dad.
He looks just like my dad. His mannerisms, way he talked, his age, everything. And shared the gospel with me. And he said, the reason that you're not able to beat this addiction is because you're trying to do it in your own power. You got to give it to God. You got to surrender. And that's the one thing I hadn't done in my entire life, was just surrender. Stop fighting. And understand that there was a power greater than myself that was going to set me free. And I believed that. I had faith in that. And that changed my life. That changed my perspective. And he leaves after sharing the gospel with me. And he shakes my hand, same way my dad used to, puts his left hand over mine, winks at me, says, I love you, son. I'll be back in here to see you next week. Wrecked me. Changed my life, man. And I knew right then that I recalled those words that my dad had said years prior on his deathbed, that I was going to be somebody, that I was going to do something great. And it changed my perspective. It changed my heart. I began to think differently. I began to want to do things differently. I began to read the Bible fast. I started working out when I was in jail. And I was in there and that surrender that I experienced, I started to apply that in my life. And at one point in time when I was doing my time, I was constantly trying to get my mom to bond me out. But that perspective changed, and that moment changed my life so much that I told my mom, I called her right after it happened. I told her what happened, and we were talking about this the other day, and she said, I remember exactly where I was standing when you called me, and I knew I knew everything was different with you. And you told me that you got saved, you gave your life to God. I knew everything was going to be different with you. And I stopped asking her to bond me out. I said, God's got me in here for a reason. I need to be in here where I'm at. I need to be going through what I'm going through because he's building me. He's making me stronger. Because we hear in addiction, your addiction's out there in the parking lot doing push-ups while you're doing your time. How are you going to prepare to fight that when you get out there, when the doors pop? And that's the mindset that I took. So I stayed in for 6 months, and I finally got released. And 8 weeks after getting released, during that time frame, I started watching YouTube videos, consuming YouTube videos, see David Goggins' video. And I got inspired. I signed up for Ironman 70.3. No training, no swimming. Bought a bike the day before I went. I ran a couple of miles. I go down and just raw dog this 70.3 and completed it. I don't know how. I backstroked the whole swim. I was using flat pedals, didn't have clip-ins, and I walked the entire half marathon. And I came across that finish line, and it just, it just really fortified, like, I can do hard things, like, and just taking things one step at a time. The community, the camaraderie, again, man, it just changed my life. And I was like, these are the people that I need to be around. I had similar stories coming from, trauma and addictions and, the things that they'd been through. And so that's what got me into endurance sports. And that's where I found my love for endurance sports in that moment.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with me and with anyone who's going to hear it. I think that testimony is why you're here right now in this room with me. That is unbelievable. Like you answered so many questions I already had for you just in that story. Wow. Thank you, man.
Shout out Ruth, my mom, man. She's a G. Man, that woman's an angel. She's been through a lot of stuff in her life, and for real, man, she took my dad's words to heart. She loved me and she prayed for me, and I talked to her before we started this podcast, and I was like, Mom, make sure you pray for, me and Smoke's conversation today. And she's like, son, I've never stopped praying for you.
Your mom's a real one.
She is, man.
I had an opportunity to FaceTime her when we did that North Carolina leg.
She loves you, bro.
She's a G.
She loves you, man.
I love you too, Ruth. I had a conversation. I think I told you about this morning or last night when we were talking. We were joking that the conversation we had right over there on the bar stools should have been the podcast episode in and of itself. And we were talking about purpose. Everybody wants to know what their purpose is. Why am I here? What am I doing? And a Christian creator on TikTok whose name escapes me said, watch this video and you'll never ask what your purpose is again. And it simply put, he said, you take the thing that building a relationship with God delivered you from, and you turn right back around and you help people do the same thing. If you were dealing with addiction, if you were dealing with a need for validation, if you were dealing with lust, whatever it is, whatever you beat, because you've been delivered from it, through inner work and building a relationship with Christ, you then turn around and you help people do the same exact thing. And you're doing that now we're wearing the shirts. Obviously, we're not matching by accident with Res Hope.
Yeah.
So you were delivered from this vice that had such a hold on you, and now you turn around and you do the same thing for people. So what sparked Res Hope? How did you get to what it is now, and what is it now? Mm-hmm. What is Res Hope?
Res Hope is our nonprofit. We have a men's recovery home back in Cherokee, North Carolina. It's a 6 to 12 month program. We give guys safe housing. We get them recovery support, hook them up with employment, transportation to and from their jobs, and recovery meetings and things like that. And when I got out, man, I knew that, again, just living out my dad's words, living out God's words that he spoke through my dad, and just trying to be a service to my community. And that's what Gadoogie in our language in Cherokee means, is helping one another without hesitation. You see somebody in need, you help them without hesitation. And so I got out, man, and I knew that everything that I'd been through, I couldn't waste it. Like, I wanted to give back. I knew that all that I'd been through, those overdoses, those near-death experiences, man, like, God kept me here for a reason. And I didn't want to be selfish, and that's part of recovery. You've got to serve. You got to try to give back, because it's a selfish disease. You're constantly you're feeding the flesh. You're constantly inflicting pain and heartache, and you're betraying trust and all these different things. And so one of the quotes that my wife Caitlin, she always shares is, "See a need, feel it. See a hurt, heal it." And we seen this need in our community. There was not a men's recovery center in our community. And we had this idea back in 2018, and it took us years, man. We tried to run from it. We couldn't get the support that we were looking for. COVID happened, and then that shut down the idea of trying to open up a recovery house.
Just one shitstorm after the other.
Yeah. And then finally we reached out to another ministry, and we're like, hey, we got this house, we got this space. Bring your program here, and we'll we'll lease the house to you. And the pastor of that program, he's like, let me think about it. I want to pray about it. Week goes by, he messages us. He's like, God said this is for y'all to do. So this is 2021, and finally we got, after almost 5 years of wrestling with this, trying to get the support, we finally opened up our doors recently, over a year ago. But in the meantime, like, we were going on mission trips, we were feeding the community, we're doing, meals to people that were experiencing homelessness, different groups for the community, things like that. And we finally got the recovery house open a little over a year ago last year. So that's what we do, man. Everybody that works there is in recovery, peer support, peer led program, got lived experience with addiction and mental health issues. And we serve up to 8 men at a time. We've got 5 guys in the program right now. all doing well, getting our license, reconnecting with our kids, with their family, getting tribal jobs. We have our gala coming up here soon.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to come to that.
Some guys, man, have never been in a suit, never been in a tux, never been to a dance, never had a date. And these grown men, 30 plus years old, most of them, and like seeing the little boy in them, man, get excited about something. And that's what it was all about, man. I wanted to build something like that was going to change and transform lives. And, thankfully God's blessed me with the opportunity to do that. It's
the ultimate source of fulfillment. Proverbs 13:12, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a dream fulfilled is a tree of life. It's one of my favorite scriptures.
That's one of mine too, man. I love that one.
I love Proverbs 13:12, man. And you are building a tree of life through Res Hope. And that's, to backtrack a little bit, I don't know if we clarified here. Let me pull this down. There you go. You were raising money and awareness for Res Hope as a byproduct of the Transcon as well, right? Mm-hmm. That was one of the biggest goals of the Transcon. So the donation link is still live. I need you to give it to me.
Okay.
Because if you guys are watching this, you can donate to Res Hope. I'm going to put a link in the description on YouTube and Spotify. You can go click and give whatever you can. It's going towards a really, really badass cause led by two really, really badass people in Kallup and Caitlin. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. What's next? I got to ask. I know what's next, but I got to know what you're planning. We talked about it yesterday when you got here. What's the next crazy ass thing you're going to pull out of the hat?
So we are gradually starting to build up. Running across America just completely destroyed my body.
You don't say.
Yeah. I was pretty beat up.
Yeah.
I needed some recovery time after that. But I want to get back to the marathon. That's something that I love to do. It's my favorite event to coach as well, favorite distance to coach. So I want to go back into a marathon prep, do Houston Marathon in January. I'm still kicking around the idea of trying to get top 10 at a 200-mile race. But that's going to prep me for my big event in 2026, which is going after William Googe's record across Australia.
You heard that, Googe. He's coming for you.
We're coming for it.
So run across another continent. That's so crazy.
2,300 miles. The record is 34 days, 9 hours. And I think I'll have to run a little over 66 miles a day.
In the bag.
Break the record.
You're so cooked, Googe. Man, are you going to pull another PR stunt like that shit you pulled halfway through the Transcon?
Yeah.
Do you realize?
Dude, I was so bored at that point in time. Like, I had to do something.
Do you realize how much my phone caught fire? Because all of my
everybody's phone is
all of my friends are runners and they all know you and like, yo, what? And I haven't been on social media, ironically, given it's my job. I hadn't been on social media all day. Yo, what happened to Kallup? Is that real? What's going on? For those, just tell people what you did. You jackass.
Okay, so my humor is a little dark sometimes, coming from my background, like with arrest and high-speed police chases and all these different things that I've experienced. So I'm running down the road in Oklahoma by myself, and I'm like, oh my God, I just had a great idea. I said, when I come to the crew, and I said, when we find a police officer, we're going to ask him if he can arrest me on video, and then we'll tell everybody that, I got shipped back to Oklahoma or something. So 3 days goes by. We're running through Bixby, Oklahoma. It's like midnight. We're getting ready to call it a day. And a young law enforcement officer, I can't remember his name now, it slips my mind. He pulls into the gas pumps. And everybody's like, oh, there he is. There's your chance. And I said, go ask him. And they're like, no, I don't want to go ask him. Like, we might get in trouble. I'm like, I'll go ask him. So we walk over to the officer, and I said, hey, man, introduced myself, tell him what I was doing, and told him my idea. And I was like, can you help us make this video? He slapped me in cuffs, put me in the back of the car, and we're going to say that, we got shipped back to California. Dude, he was a G. First, he missed his shot at Hollywood because I think he done a great acting job.
Yeah.
So he's like, I got you. So, we reenact the whole thing. And, I don't think it's far-fetched, like, coming from my background.
Kallup, it wasn't. That was the problem. The only thing that gave it away for me, I was watching the video. First off, I was freaking out. But then I was like, wait a minute. This looks really well shot.
It was very well shot. Shout out Lewis and Rob.
Yeah, they crushed. I was like, this looks a little too good. But it was realistic. An old warrant from like California or something that you got dinged on made perfect sense.
A lot of people were thinking that I got charged for laying down spray paint on the pavement or something. Something petty charge, and bring me back. But it wouldn't have made any sense to extradite me back to California. But for people that don't know, that made sense.
Yeah, I was honestly, when I found out it was a prank, I was a little mad at your crew. Like, he's not of sound body and mind. Why are you taking any input from Kallup? He's 40 days into it. So crazy feat.
I was laying in somebody's yard, and Lewis comes out of the RV. He's like, "Yo, Kallup, it's live." And I was laying there taking a dirt nap, and I opened up my phone, opened up Instagram, and I was so hyped. I was like, dude, this is going to get so many people. And the phone just starts blowing up.
Yeah.
People from back home, like, oh my God, Kalup's breaking the effing internet. What's going on? Like, he just got arrested. And my mom's just cracking up because my mom's got the same type of humor that I do. And I was like, Mom, don't tell anybody nothing. Like, don't answer the phone. We're just going to keep it a secret. And so everybody starts calling Caitlin, my mom, the crew, everybody's asking questions, and we let this ride for like 6 hours.
I'm aware.
We should not have done that.
No. Because it went from funny to everybody pissed off.
It was. Yeah.
The last story, I remember I was calling your ass thinking Caitlin would pick up, and the last thing I said on Instagram is Kallup is detained, or Kallup has been taken to whatever jail. More updates tomorrow.
Yeah,
on your story.
Yeah,
you ran with this so hard.
Yeah, we should have done that.
It was funny.
But I told everybody, I was like, if if this triggered something in you, then go donate to the cause. If you're that invested, go donate.
Oh my gosh, man! It's a good way to keep things exciting with all the monotony you probably faced.
Yeah.
Normally, there's a question I ask when I close out the show to people, because the theme of the show when I started the page, when I started all of it, was the sentence that came to mind was sharing easily implementable ways to improve your life. That's always been the mission. It'll always be the mission. But I think the question I want to ask you is a little different. It's something I heard from another podcaster, and you just have a background that, pause. What is that? Is that coming from inside my apartment?
No, we're good. I don't hear it.
Okay, all right. Apologies, another small interruption right before a very deep moment. The question I want to ask you is a little bit different, because I'm inspired by your background. I'm inspired by everything you've been through. If you had 60 seconds left on the earth, and there was one piece of advice you wanted to be left here by you to anyone who needs to hear it, what would you tell them?
I did some deep stuff, Smoke. I had a friend who shared something one day that's always been impactful and sticks in the back of my mind. You know, he said, all we're doing is walking one another home. How are we using our talents, our abilities, our gifts to make this place a better place to live, to leave it in a better place than we found it? And how you treat people is so important, and how you use those gifts and talents and abilities to make this world a better place, I think is the most important piece of advice that I can give. Like, being of service to other people and seeing the beauty in somebody else, seeing the humanness in somebody else, and just trying to make an impact that way. I seen it in you a few minutes ago, and I was talking to somebody on the phone before we started the podcast. You're one of the most authentic, genuine, loving, compassionate men that I've ever met.
Thank you. And
watching you treat this man out here experiencing homelessness like he was somebody, that's walking somebody home, man, with love and compassion. And that's what it's about. Being an encourager. And I appreciate that. And I think that's what I would leave somebody with. Is, how are you doing that?
That's the perfect answer. It really is. And thank you for saying that.
Thank you, man. I
love you, man. I'm proud of you. I'm proud to know you. I gush about my friend Kallup at every opportunity I get to anyone who will listen. You inspire the hell out of me, man. And I know you're going to inspire a lot of people with this. I'm very, very lucky to know you. I'm grateful that you took the time to do this. And I'm looking forward to just kicking it for the rest of the day and spending some more quality time with you, brother.
Me too, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to share it with somebody and drop a comment and let us know what you thought. I love you guys, and I love you too, brother.
Love you too, man.
All right.